So, Karine, please tell us, what should we eat in this post-pandemic period?
Well, I'm hoping to answer some of this, give you some elements of answer in this presentation today. Thank you for attending. So I'm part of Euromonitor International. We're a global market intelligence company. We provide insight on industries, countries, consumers, over 100 countries, 30 industries, and we have 16 offices around the world. It's quite a confusing time at the moment for companies across the food spectrum, but also for people trying to buy the right foods and sometimes just trying to find foods in some markets. And as such, there's room to be excited because despite unprecedented challenges, we know that there are opportunities to seize in food markets to be successful. So we'll try and shed some light on what the future boils down to. And we'll then go through what consumers want going forward and how to meet those needs. So what's changed in food markets since COVID-19? Well, if we start with a short-term view, you're looking at retail value sales growth across key consumer industries over the last 3 years, with pre-COVID forecasts, what we expected to happen before COVID, in the empty dark blue bars, and what's actually happened in the plain bars. So food retail has generally come through strongly from the COVID global outbreak. This is in spite of severe contractions in impulse channels. So what you see is that snacks as a discretionary type of purchase and dairy, where we tend to have high margin products, have seen slower growth than expected pre-COVID. But look at staples and cooking ingredients and meals. They've grown quite dynamically. This is in percentage terms. So consumers have increased their shopping in retail, their food shopping. And of course, it reflects more living, more eating done at home. So this isn't just about a global sanitary crisis, though. If we think of the various key drivers shaping global food markets, we have some that have been underlying for years. Structural shifts, sustainability, increased online demand, climate change. But since 2019, there's also been a number of major events and disruptions to global food markets. An unprecedented pandemic, and of course, a conflict in Ukraine with wide economic sanctions on Russia. And if we look at the entirety of the effects on markets, so the bottom of the slide, from the short and long-term demand pull drivers, that's when demand exceeds production capacity, and that creates tension on the production side. You know, you can see how many of these have affected the food supply chain. And on the top of the slide, if you look at the complexity of the supply chain, that tells you that the challenges are there's going to be a lot of challenges that are going to be long-term. So it's this longer-term view that we're now taking when considering the real legacies of the pandemic on food markets. So first, consumers eating less outside and more at home. Then buying less food at the grocery store and more online. Supply challenges that will need to be looked at with a sustainability lens on. An increasing focus on holistic health through foods. And finally, greater price sensitivity from consumers. So let's have a look at each of these shifts. So, looking at occasions, despite the fact that societies have reopened, many eating occasions have permanently moved to the home. When looking at a no-COVID scenario versus what actually happened, we estimate that in 2020, global retail sales of packaged food were bolstered by over 15 million tons. Away from home meals will regain momentum. Food service and impulse channels are functioning again. But we anticipate that the share of restaurants, cafes, within total food sales, is going to lose 1 percentage point, so go down to 22% of total sales. And that's the equivalent of losing 7 million tons to retail between 2019 and 2026. So many breakfast and lunch occasions, instead of being regained by food service, will occur at home and can be fulfilled through retail. On the channel front, foods have suddenly become products that can be bought easily online. And it might be hard to remember, but not so long ago it wasn't really the case. Packaged food e-commerce shot up by 50% between 19 and 20. So it shot up to $116 billion US. So that's across cooking ingredients and meals, dairy, snacks, staple foods. And it's kept going up to 2022. Food service has also adapted. A lot of online orders and home delivery now becoming a major stream of revenues for restaurants. The e-commerce channel will continue to grow dynamically, which leads to our survey respondents, when asked what changes is their company exploring with store formats, to say, first and foremost, devoting more space for digital fulfillment operations. So in 2020, 2021, e-commerce was deemed a safer way to do your food shopping with regards to viral contamination, but increasingly, e-commerce will be embraced as a means to save more and more time. And moving on from a more planned approach to grocery shopping, we have new possibilities with things like quick commerce, subscription models, etc., etc. So sustainability, or operation, on the operational side, I guess. The pandemic ultimately exposed the impact of the human way of life on the planet. And we've all noticed how sustainability has risen in the agenda. So this is part of our latest Voice of the Industry survey that shows that since last year, pretty much all main areas of sustainability have gone up substantially in companies' investment plans for the next 5 years. A few more areas of sustainability to the right have been also on the card this year. The development of sustainable products, sustainable sourcing is all the way to the top. And we know that on the consumer's end, plant-based alternatives to dairy, meat products have primarily been driven by health, but increasingly we expect this to be also out of environmental concerns. Natural resource depletion is a major challenge seen by companies. So energy, water, forest ecosystems. And it also means diversifying raw material suppliers and ingredients where possible. So thinking about resource intensiveness, exposure to climate events, crop resilience. And challenges very much include faltering supply chains. We've seen how the pandemic, the war in Ukraine, and even climate events are linked to major disruptions to the supply chain, and the complexity of this challenge makes it a long-term one. The mechanics of the markets have been shaken. We need a new approach, often a holistic new approach to supply and demand. This means considering shorter routes to the consumer, more circular models, that sort of thing. So moving on to health. So health positioning in foods. COVID-19 has raised preoccupation, sometimes fears that our body's mental health might not be fit enough to fend off diseases or illnesses. And there's an increased awareness and also an increased desire to prevent rather than treat by eating the right food. And we've taken the US as a sample market here, looking at essentially one of the biggest markets for health attributes on packaged food products. And you're looking at the various health claims by number of online SKUs across and how it's been growing over 2021 vertically. And essentially, products with a functionality claim, a targeted health benefit, hold promise. You can see the orange line representing the 20% growth line. So that's pretty dynamic. So the claims standing out, we can see immunity support, digestive health, you know, as we know more and more about the microbiome, mental health has emerged and is also here to stay. They're all the way to the top. And in parallel, we also have opportunities for claims that have to do with energy levels, boosting your energy levels. Good source of vitamins, high protein, energy boosting. And that's because consumers no longer just look at coffee or energy drinks or even vitamins and supplements to get their fix of energy boost during the day or the week. They also look at their diets now. Value for money has always mattered, but the context is getting tougher economically, and people are more exposed to competitive offers online. And the primary thing that survey respondents say they do in order to cut costs is to go to the discounter or to choose private label products. But what they don't do is sacrifice on taste or on health and nutritional properties. If they sacrifice anything, it's about specialty, new variety. So consumers will try to live more frugal lifestyle, most likely, in the coming years. Affordability will become even more important. However, they're not ready to sacrifice the food experience, the little pleasures that they can still afford for themselves and the family. And so there are opportunities that are worth examining. What do consumers want exactly, and how do we respond to these different needs? So with more working done from home, living done at home, we have new opportunities for eating occasions. So that includes breakfast, lunch, when studying or working from home, of course. So here you have an example of how food, home delivery, and takeaways have increased in the last 3 years. And I mean, 14 percentage points for home delivery, where you literally have nothing to do but get your food and eat it. You have other occasions at home, of course, such as grabbing a snack after an online fitness session or grazing in front of the TV. There's also home-delivered gifting products for celebrity occasions, all sorts of eating occasions that have risen. This is an example of how you can, let's say, enhance the cooking or baking activities at home by making it easier and making it a restaurant-like experience. So McDonald's in Brazil launched their Big Mac sauce to recreate that experience. Many consumers will continue to want to plan their food shopping and to get that elevated convenience from online shopping. So between 20 and 21, the fastest growing response from respondents to when it comes to food purchase channel is online. You can see the most dynamic, it's from a very low base. It's other devices, which is wearables, smartwatches. But look at the second one is phone, so ordering food from your phone. Then you've got computer, and all the way there you've got in-store. So it's pretty clear that people are favoring e-commerce still. And if I look at an example in Egypt of quick commerce, we have a startup called Breadfast, which offers same-day or next-day delivery. Quite uniquely, they also do they make their bread fresh in store. And they now offer all sorts of foods and other goods. It's been growing 25% month on month, and it's planning expansion in the Middle East and Africa and beyond. Consumers want food products that have a compelling ethical stand. The top environmental actions people say they engage with is trying to reduce plastics use and food waste, but reducing meat intake is also part of the top responses at the bottom of the chart. And alongside this unstoppable rise of plant-based alternatives, we also have cultured proteins. as an area of focus for instance, for meat giant JBS. It should gain consumer acceptance and also credibility on the sustainability front. Now, when it comes to sustainability, there is still a major gap between what people wish for and what they're ready to pay for. However, people are going to be more and more discerning about what we call sustainable innovation. And as industrials, you're going to need to face the challenges that we've talked about earlier in order to secure your future. So we saw that developing sustainable products was a high business priority earlier. This is an example where in Australia, energy bar, I Am Grounded, is upcycling the coffee fruit that is normally discarded in the coffee industry. That means less food losses, it means extra income for the coffee farmers, and they're now expanding into mainstream supermarkets. Foods will increasingly be chosen according to the health benefits that they put forward. And it's often about strengthening your physical or your mental resilience. We saw earlier in the example of the US market that probiotic was still high in demand. This is true in many countries, not just in the US. And it's not just for digestive health. These are the top reasons why people search for probiotic in foods. And it might surprise you that digestive health is up there, but actually immune system is on par with it, which is at the very top. And I think a good example of this is in Japan. Dairy giant Meiji has managed to create a strong association between its products and immune health. And that's how the sales of its R1 yogurt surged following the COVID pandemic. It launched a new product extension this year, targeted at women with iron, and so it's continuing to sophisticate its product line and segment its consumer base. Finally, consumers want affordable value out of their foods. So the current context of high inflation has already put the price of commodities up drastically. This is within the 6 months around the start of this year. And you can see that barley, corn were up nearly 40%, soybeans, wheat, 30%, rice, nearly 10%. And in some cases, so in snacks, for instance, manufacturers have very much responded with, among other things, launching smaller pack sizes to offer a little bit more of an immediate type of affordability. But some of these commodities with rising prices can sometimes be vital in some markets, right? Not just essential. In Cameroon, for example, where rice is used as at home multiple times a week, some households have started struggling to afford it. Trade company ATC has positioned itself as an advocate for food security in Cameroon and has launched Belgraine, which is a product line of superior quality rice products sold at an average 10% under market prices. And key elements in their business model include leveraging their trading expertise, but also launching particularly big pack sizes, 25 kilos, 50 kilos, in order to get the best prices. They aim to expand in other essential products like edible oils, tomatoes. So I think it's a pretty good example. So I'm conscious of time. So key takeaways for this presentation today. I'm hoping to give you the key messages to take with you today. And I think essentially there are undoubtedly challenges to overcome. And it may almost seem impossible right now, but if we look longer term, there are many opportunities to seize for being successful. First one, I would say additional at-home eating occasions, which food brand owners, but also food service operators can both leverage. More hassle-free delivery models. We've mentioned subscription models, quick commerce, etc. And quick commerce being one way of creating an impulse purchase behavior at home. We have new supply options. with the, for example, a local approach to food supply, ingredient diversification. We have a consumer desire for foods that makes them stronger, immunity support, brain health, mood enhancement, energy boost, that sort of thing. And finally, a consumer experience for less, so through smaller pack sizes, but also presence at discounters, attractive online offers. And just on a final separate note, we have a scheme called Passport Plus, whereby we can directly engage with you on a given topic. And so please just get in touch with us to inquire more about this if you're interested.